speak. Dog60229 versus Tom.
Yes. It is a pretty interesting matchup. We're getting another look at Dog's already infamous mage deck here. It's not quite Freeze Mage, it's not quite Cyclone Mage, a little bit of a hybrid between the both, but I like a lot of what I'm seeing from it. I think it was a fantastic read against a very warrior-dominated meta, and it also seems to be doing pretty well against the other mages in the tournament, which I think is pretty fortunate for him, going up against tom60229's much more classic Mana Cyclone Mage.
On the competitive circuit, you know, winning a world championship and all. But it's kind of funny to see two stories collide. I
mean, Dog's been no slouch either, right? Like, having a fantastic Swiss record here. He was also at the Summer Championships last year.
I don't remember. He just got eliminated so quickly.
He did get instantly hyper-dumpstered.
Yes.
Which was, I mean, a little bit amusing, it's got to be said. Much as I love old David.
Yeah. But let's get into it. Dog, we've seen him on stream. You mentioned it. Reckon the Mage Mirror matchup. We can't really call it a mirror matchup. It's a class mirror, but not necessarily a just a straight-up archetype mirror. I think the closest deck in the field to Dog, I think Frozen has similars, but Language Hacker is one of the players that we saw on stream.
Okay.
He's just running a little bit more of a standard Freeze Mage instead of just more greed in the top end. He's packing like double Fireball for additional burn.
That's pretty cool.
But very similar lists for both players. Language Hacker and Dog, not Tom and Dog. Ooh, Luna's Pocket Galaxy.
Yeah, that's been... Luna's Pocket Galaxy has been weird, because I feel like the threat of Luna's Pocket Galaxy and the way that it's been making Dog's opponents play has been even better than the actual effect of Luna's Pocket Galaxy, because you kind of have to start playing super aggressively when they've played it, or eventually you're just going to be out-tempoed. The one-mana minions are simply too powerful, and I think that has been its greatest asset, more so than the actual power level, which we haven't seen all too much.
Yeah.
But if you coin it out on turn 4, that's probably going to be a pretty good start for Dog.
Not really much to do until then, though.
It's got the AI.
Oh, the AI. Sorry, it was tucked all the way in there to the left.
The corner.
It was tucked in Luna's Pocket Galaxy. That's a lot of respect for a banana buffoon.
That is a huge amount of respect for one monkey with a banana peel on its head.
Coin Mountain Giant?
This is a weird game already, because I guess for Dog, if he didn't kill it off there, was he afraid of, like, double bananas and then Mana Cyclone nonsense?
The interesting part about it is, if he just puts both bananas on it, he can still Frostbolt ping it next turn, he just takes 4 damage.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't have the option to, like, play AI the following turn. His play would have to be Frostbolt ping. So by Frostbolting it early, he gives himself the option of having additional plays to follow that.
I think I've solved it as well. I think the main reason he's holding back there is he really wants to play AI after the Luna's Pocket Galaxy has come down.
By golly, you've solved it!
I've done it again. The problem no one could solve of why don't you play Arcane Intellect on turn 3. And it's looking like, wow, he might be rewarded, as these are, well, actually, that's not that good so far.
Doomsayer's good. He can Ray of Frost this Mountain Giant and Doomsayer.
That's all right.
Which would mean that Tom would have to have an answer for it with 2 power on board. He knows there's 2 bananas in hand.
He would be able to clear it off with the double banana, double Ray of Frost ping. I think it'd be exactly enough.
It's a good amount of resources, though.
I think if you're Tom, you're perfectly happy to do that, though, to preserve this board.
Wait, can he kill it off? Because double Ray of Frost is 2 damage, plus 4, plus ping A, right? 7. Great math.
Thanks. Oh, sorry, no, in TJ numbers, that's 1. I'm sorry, that's 0. 7 is 0, and 8 is 1.
I wonder.
So he only has to deal 0 damage.
You're even confusing me now, and you're speaking my language.
It's like trying to convert metric into imperial. It just doesn't make sense. Gosh dang it. Enough Hearthstone. I'm going on a rant. Imperial?
It's okay, Derek.
Makes no sense.
How much stone do you weigh?
Dude, I've put on so much weight since I started casting, you would not even believe. I think I weigh like 14.5 stone now.
I've no idea how much that is. Be right back. Let me go get some rocks from my garden and weigh them on the scale. 14.5 rocks, you said?
I don't know how much that is in pounds. Like, I think it's... I don't know. It's over 200 pounds, I think. I have no idea what pounds are. I don't know how the conversion works. I'm sure someone will be more than happy to tell me how fat I am on Twitter.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I could still eat you and then walk back to my hotel room just fine. That's how large I am.
You are quite the unit, Mr. Terry Jeffords.
I wonder.
Well, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, while good, it's not an instant win. He still needs to find a way to come back on board, and it looks like that way is going to be... I don't know if that's... I don't think that's good.
It's got 6 attack, and like the 2 health is pretty difficult to deal with. I mean, that's an above-average result.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously... actually, no, Ray of Frost doesn't have Twin Spell anymore, right? So
No, it's just a single Ray of Frost.
Yeah. It's just a good minion.
Magic Trick can find a way. You can always like Frost Nova, Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
Frost Nova is a huge tool.
I mean,
this matchup.
The real problem here for Dog isn't even the Giant and the stats on board. It's the draw that Luna is going to have over the next few turns.
Yeah.
Although that is a bit of a hindrance, we might have to see from Tom, the Magic Trick puts the spell on the right-hand side, then he can draw.
Just go again with Magic Trick, I feel. I feel like the possibility of Conjurer's Calling for Magic Trick is too much to pass up. So he's going to draw a card from Luna. Another Arcane Intellect. So now I can Arcane Intellect, but can't pick up Conjurer's Calling here. And still does want to find a way to deal with this Leroy because it's threatening Luna and possibly threatening the Mountain Giant as well.
Behold the tools of creation.
Ooh, these are some pretty good pickups for Tom. Basically completely filling up his hand for all intensive purposes.
All right, Dog needs to find some gas. Sorry, Dog needs to find some petrol. Sometimes I forget. This language barrier really gets in the way.
Whew. We need a language hacker to break into the mainframe and translate for us.
0 mana Mountain Giant.
Okay, this is starting to get a little bit more amenable now for Dog, but the problem still remains. Like, if he goes for Giant Conjurer's Calling, if he gets Grave Horrors, they just get value traded in Conjurer's Calling.
He could go for Arcane Keysmith, Mountain Giant, Frost Nova.
Okay.
Try and see what he gets. Spellbender. He's seen 2 Rays of Frost, which means that there's not a great way, and a Banana Buffoon.
That's true.
So there's not a fantastic way to just easily check for Spellbender, at least from Dog's perspective.
Outside of the obviously the Conjurer's Calling, which he really wants.
Yeah,
to
I mean
away.
that's why you play Spellbender in the first place, and that's why when we talked about like when Summoner Mage was really popular, Summoner Mage barely played any spells.
As Tom looks like, I mean, he was starting off with that to see if Mirror Image came down first of all, but I imagine he's setting up for a Conjurer's Calling play on this turn. But the thing is for Dog, even if the first one is diverted, Tom's board gets completely filled up anyway.
Yeah, because it's not like Counterspell. If it was Counterspell, for instance, Conjurer's Calling would be counterspelled and you would not get the Twin Spell.
That is correct.
With Spellbender, since Conjurer's Calling
it's played.
being cast to completion, you do get the Twin Spell. However, Dog does have a little bit more of a board.
Oh wait, no, his board gets filled up as well because of the cat car.
Oh yeah. Bunch of 1/1s though, not the greatest.
However, for Tom here, because he's not casting Conjurer's Calling here and going for the Frost Nova instead, maybe if no taunts are generated and Dog can find himself another freeze effect, maybe even just the Ray of Frost will do. We could maybe see Dog pulling ahead here with just the damage race, given that he has the Alexstrasza.
Essentially, one non-frozen board from Tom, like from on Dog's side.
Yeah.
So if Tom doesn't pick up a freeze effect, Dog, if he has open board space, can play Alexstrasza, and right now there's enough damage on board to just lethal Tom right off the bat.
The problem is though that Dog doesn't want the Blizzard to cast to do damage. He wants these minions left in play, unable to trade in, because then there's less room for giants to come down. And now killing off all these 2 health minions means double Conjurer's Calling is very likely to find some Grave Horrors to protect Tom.
I like this ping on the Rabble Bouncer because it's the least likely target to get Conjurer's Calling, and you're going to have to push through that eventually to get through Faith damage. And if you're planning on playing Alexstrasza, then you don't really want to ping the face anyway.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah, Tom knows exactly what he needs here to protect himself. And if he can't get any more, he might have been in trouble, but I think now he's just all good, right? The 2 to protect him is way too much.
He can get through a decent chunk of this.
He can, and then I guess double Ray of Frost into Conjurer's Calling on the 8-1 Giant is pretty blooming good for Dog as well.
Yeah.
Wow, this is such a close game. I thought Dog was just out of it.
Arena's full.
Also, the Luna's Pocket Galaxy could still pick up some really great stuff.
That's true.
He's got Archmage Antonidas. Astromancer are not that great because he doesn't have a lot of cards in his hand, but Calicos could be incredible. A 1-mana Calicos.
That could just, like, gain him 8 mana.
You could Calicos, get a Pyroblast, then Alexstrasza, then Pyroblast.
Whoa. That really gets my petrol flowing. And we are in a position now where Dog double freezes and sets up lethal
Yeah.
with Alexstrasza.
Yep. Now, it's likely that Tom... Well, I mean, it's almost 100% likely that Tom trades over the Grave Horror. And then there's only 13 damage on board.
Oh, he's so close. Okay, yeah, okay. It's not quite there.
Yeah. But Tom has AI, so he's got a little bit more card draw.
Ooh.
Magic Trick could pick up another Conjurer's Calling also. Or...
Snap Freeze just protects him that little bit more. Like we could see trade, Snap Freeze the Giant, then Mana Cyclone.
Or...
I mean, he could potentially even value trade on the Rabble Bouncer instead of the Grave Horror. If he's calculating that he's not dead to Alexstrasza.
Ray of Frost. Oh my goodness.
My god, that's insane!
Now he gets to kill off Ziliax and value trade over this Grave Horror.
Yeah, I guess that was probably right. I was looking at the double freeze and then trade in.
Tony!
Oh, 1 mana Tony! But it doesn't even do enough.
No. I think Tom has pulled ahead. Even a Polymorph picked up from
Yeah, that's true.
the Mana Cyclone.
And his own Pocket Galaxy, should he require it.
I don't think he requires it. He's played both Sea Giants and Second Mountain Giants in his hand. And in fact, there's not that many minions that don't already cost very close to 1 mana left in the deck. He's only got 7 cards.
So my statement, therefore, was extremely dumb.
100%.
What to do? What to do?
Of course,
Get
in
out.
TJ numbers, that's 30%.
I just kind of got to chip away at the board here.
And now, of course, Tom just really wondering, how do I lose this game? To which I think the answer is just a couple of really big, cheap minions into a blizzard. And therefore, the polymorph, I think, means even then, like, the extra turn of freeze at 29 health, Tom is just never afraid of dying.
Astromancer, not great here.
Gets
With a
him
very small hand, which is funny because a 1 mana 5/5 that summons anything is fantastic.
It's true. But when you're facing down 2 mountain giants, it's nowhere near good enough.
In fact, a 1 mana 5/5 that doesn't summon anything is still great.
You would I agree, obviously.
My calculations are flawless.
What's he looking for on one cost? Like,
You win this.
I don't even know. It was over.
Is there anything at one cost?
I mean, I was looking at like Doomsayer didn't do it on 2. Annoyer. I was getting another look at the deck here for Tom. I would imagine he'll be switching over to his tertiary deck. Yeah, we just got confirmation. The double polymorph is obviously fantastic to be answering the big mountain giants or any other large minions that Dog could be throwing down. And the question.
Then he's going to knock him out on top. And his tertiary deck is just the greediest pile of nonsense I've ever seen in my life.
It is a pile of nonsense, I quite agree.
The Arcane Dynamo.
Why do you say it like that?
Because that feels like how it should be said.
You do realize you're just going to be causing a wave of nams in chat by saying it Dynamo. Like the emote, like the Twitch BTTV. I'm like,
Cool.
It's nerd stuff, TJ, don't worry.
So how do you say the word dynamic?
Dynamic.
Now, how do you say the word dynamo?
Dynamo.
No!
Yes. I mean, that's such a nonsense argument. Like, there's like 7 different ways to pronounce O-U-G-H in the English language, but you can't say, because you say cough, you say throff. Or maybe you do. Who knows?
I do.
I'm a throffer, throff and throff.
What to do?
You'll think of a joke, TJ. It'll come.
No. I do want to tell a small story.
Please do.
We have a producer who goes by the name Mike. For the sake of this story, we'll call him Mike. He is very funny, or at least he thinks so.
Yeah.
And so he always tries to feed us jokes during the broadcast. He's currently in my ear feeding me jokes to say to you about this subject.
Yes.
And they're not good.
You see,
Mike, quote-unquote Mike,
yes.
needs to work on his Arcane Dynamo joke game.
Well, you see, the thing is, the producer formerly known as Mike told me that you're lying.
It's actually just Hunter Ace.
It's pronounced Dynamo. I can do better. That was not a good Hunter Ace.
That was pretty good. That was
Hunter Ace?
decent. There's a game of Hearthstone going on.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're the one who wanted to tell a story.
That was my story.
Right. Tell us a story about this game of Hearthstone, TJ.
Well, Dog has Luna's Pocket Galaxy on 5 again, but Tom has a lot of cards.
He does, but like we've seen time and again in these Mage Mirrors that value is not good enough. You are not just trying to get as much cards in hand as possible for the sake of it to use them later on. You want cards in hand so that you can get cheap giants and cheat out a lot of stats for not much mana with Giant into Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah. Now, there is no Giant for Tom, and he also has a full hand Serenade Doomsayer with no way to deal with it.
Wow.
So he's just going to have to use a banana on the Doomsayer just to empty a card out of hand. I think he was just trying to figure out what card was the best card to use. And this Doomsayer setup from Dog allows him to play Luna's Pocket Galaxy on 5.
And the even better news for him is there is just no Mountain Giant for Tom. Instead, we're having to see a kind of pseudo-giant turn with a Miracle Questing Adventurer being brought up to ridiculous sizes.
Yeah. Now,
and it's a pretty good turn, to be fair.
The one kind of, I guess it's a downside to Conjurer's Calling, maybe it's an upside, is that there's a kind of an extra way to remove it in Mage Mirrors, and the fact that Conjurer's Calling will only summon 3-drops. Same vein as kind of Edwin in an emergency. You can play Conjurer's Calling to answer Edwin.
I understand.
You know, it's better to have the average three mana minions, what, a 3/3?
It's a 2/3, something like that.
Yeah, so if you're staring at a 16/16 Edwin or a huge questing adventure that's going to get out of control, you'd rather just put 6 stats on board that's much more manageable. 6 power on board, sorry. That's much more manageable. Derek's trying to mock me with his cast. What he doesn't believe is that he's actually mocking himself.
I have no idea what you're talking about, TJ. I can mock you with my cast, and I can mock you with my casting.
Dog Dog doesn't even have the Conjurer's Calling to deal with this questing adventure, so it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
I mean, he's in the exact same spot he was in last game, right? He got the time to play a questing adventurer, but then, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, but then very quickly afterwards, he just loses on tempo. I mean, it is tempo technically, but it's like it's just there's no answer. Like you just fall behind on having a big minion in play.
It is now a mountain giant that will keep on growing.
Like real mountains do. They do. They get a little bit taller every year. Well, some of them do, at
some
least.
Some don't.
As in Gregor Clegane.
I wonder.
Magoo!
Hey, speak to me.
Look at my lore knowledge of pop culture phenomenon, Game of Thrones.
Oh, sorry, I remembered the talk we had. I'll sit in silence while you do the casting, TJ.
Thank you. Now I can finally be free.
I think if you were in Game of Thrones, you'd be the hill.
The mound.
Time runs out on me.
The pile. As Dog really trying his best to dig himself out of this situation, but it is, again, the mountain in this questing adventure that's giving him all the trouble in the world. He just can't. He doesn't have an answer. This deck is so unreactive. Feels like the real weakness of the deck. If it gets ahead, it stays ahead very, very well indeed, piling on pressure after pressure after pressure. But outside of Doomsayers, there's just no real way to clear the board.
Yeah, and it seems like this mage deck is not entirely equipped to deal with Doomsayer, but they do have things in a pinch to deal with it, and Conjurer's Calling is one of them.
As we saw in the last game, just the double banana, double Ray of Frost. It wasn't efficient, but it was good enough.
Yeah, it was good enough. Because Dog is oftentimes investing a lot into those board states.
He's just dead, TJ. He's just dead.
Yeah. Blizzard plus Doomsayer, maybe, but he has to ping here, and then Blizzard and maybe set up a Rabble Balancer to try and go for a miracle.
I mean, he could go Blizzard and then trade for one less card overall, but the chance to hit Doomsayer.
This Rabble Balancer, because it was picked up after the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, will still be 0 even with one minion on board. This is just kind of brutal for Dog. One thing I want to point out is Tom actually looks more alert than usual. I mean, a lot of times...
Very lucid.
A lot of times in Hearthstone matches, Tom looks like he's just about to power down.
He does, to be fair.
And he even said, Frodan tells the story all the time. Tom's been in the scene for a long time. I've met him a bunch of times in person. Watched him grow from a young lad into a still pretty young lad.
But a world champion, young lad.
Dan talked to Tom about it. Tom says sometimes he will just power down in a match,
right,
to save energy, especially in long like playoff or big Masters Tour events kind of things. He'll just say, "I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna nap for the next 30 seconds until my opponent plays, and then come back and figure out my turn."
Whoa, where am I?
Conjurer's Calling.
I think from overall here, we've the couple of times I've seen Tom on stream, I've been super impressed with his play. Specifically in the match I got to cast with him against Hoy, I believe. His mage play was absolutely gorgeous. He was playing around the giants, the big game hunters and the mind control techs with his giants and questing adventurers, just gorgeously. It was such beautiful play from him.
This 1 minute Alexstrasza actually could be a difference maker. If Dog can line up like Alexstrasza and Archmage Antonius in the same turn safely,
yes, okay,
then he could start to set up fireballs. So let's say, for instance, he goes for Alexstrasza here plus a Frost Nova and sets up like Ziliax to keep himself alive.
Okay.
The next turn he can go Archmage Antonius plus second Frost Nova and maybe find like a Frostbolt to deal the 15. That's a possibility.
I like the thinking. I like the thinking from him. I think this is definitely his best shot, and with no healing available to tom60229, The only real counterplay he has to that is a counter spell.
And this is actually genius too, because this plays around him having to draw Frostbolt. If he kills off one Grave Horror this turn,
right,
next turn Alexstrasza trades into the Grave Horror, so he Archmage Antonidas,
super smart,
trades over, pushes the extra damage, then has a Fireball in hand.
He has the setup for lethal.
He still needs one additional Fireball though, because if Tom finds a way to deal with Archmage Antonidas,
and I mean, with the counterspell coming down, it kind of shuts it out for Dog anyway, because his option now to stay alive in the game, whether he sees it or not, is literally only Frost Nova into Blizzard, or the other way around.
Yeah.
But I don't think he can afford to play around that. I think he has to do this, and he's going to lose because of it.
Yep. It was a nice setup, though. A good spot from Dog.
Very good setup.
That was pretty much his only way out of that situation, and it was real. Tom already looked like he's like, yeah, you're done. Take off your headset, buddy.
He's powering down already.
Yeah. He's like, it's nap time.
I mean, it's fair enough. It's been a long couple of days here for the players.
Yeah, Tom's saying, I got one more match to play.